They're not going to know to go there, so it doesn't matter that you're on camera. Do what you need to do, posting
You're
the link.
live. Yep, you're live. So people can watch it later if you want to start answering questions.
Are you typing in, Joyce, and typing in joining your questions? And typing in joining your questions. And typing in joining your questions. But you can put it in the Q&A
Can you
too.
put it in the Q&A too?
I'm on your thing, Amy, so I don't know if you have it.
Oh, I don't have that.
Do you have it now?
I had it, but I can't get into it for some reason. I just closed myself out. I'm in the question. Oh, the Q&A, I'm in the
Can you
question.
click on it from the website?
I'm on the Q&A. I don't know if that will get to.
You need to get the YouTube link that Karen has, whether she emails it to you or she just posted it in the Google form. So take it from the Google form.
What goes into the
other piece.
but how are people seeing the answers?
She's going to take it out of the form and she's going to put it in the Google spreadsheet that Amanda and
That's the YouTube one that you put there. Did you just do it?
We're live right now. So
Okay, yeah, go.
people can hear.
there's nobody on besides us and we just won't save this one. There's 0 viewers. So
Until they get this.
I don't see in my Google Q&A form where you put the link.
You might have to refresh it.
Are you putting it at the very top entry or are you putting it below at the bottom? Because the top one still has the 2.5 hours on my sheet. Okay, there it is. All right. That's a prime example of what can happen during virtual learning. So sorry for the interruption. I know that we have a few people that are back on board with us. It was actually a very simple virtual learning problem. The battery went dead, but we got a second device and we're up and running again. So I just want to thank you for being patient and working with us through this virtual learning. I still want to have the chance to take questions from you. So if you are if you're having questions, please go ahead and put them in the Google form because Mrs. Ratley is in the process of getting those questions to me. So can parents be with their child when they're taking the online class? Yes, they can. And again, it's often helpful to have children getting a parent support while they're in the online learning session. Our goal is during the orientation 2 weeks is to help them to be more independent. This question came from my child, the iStation wasn't working. We put that response in the Q&A site. There's a link that you can go to get technology support. You may have heard that iStation is, again, going to be the assessment program of choice that Wake County will be using. We're not starting out doing any assessments the first week or two, but we will be implementing assessments as we progress into the second quarter. A person asked, how do I register my child for electives? Students will be getting elective registration information that's being sent home by Mrs. Wilkinson, and she will be working to register children for during the first week of school. Band will not start until the second quarter, but you will be able to indicate that you wish to take band. Immunization forms. So kindergarten parents still need to submit immunization forms. There's a link in our Q&A where you can send an email to our data manager, Mrs. Webb, in order to get an immunization form sent to you, and then you can send her back that completed immunization form, even if you are learning remotely, which we all are. Let's see, what other questions do we have? What time does schooling start? School will start at 9 a.m. for all the different grade levels. And then you'll again be getting a more individualized schedule from your teachers when you get the teaching mailing packet this Friday. Let's see, any other new questions that are coming in that come to mind? Again, if you have a question, you can ask that question through the Google form link. Mrs. Ratley, do we have any new questions?
Kindergarten selected for SSA, how is the schedule work attending classes with older students catching up in his own class?
So families are asking about SSA. Students who were currently enrolled in SSA in the 1920 school year will continue with SSA instruction. Students that are in grades 1st through 5th grade can request to have SSA testing through by sending an email to Mr. Bastin. That's ABASTIN @WCPSS.net. And Mrs. Ratley will put that email address in there as well, abastin@WCPSS.net. Email Mr. Bastin that you're interested in SSA testing. Kindergarten students do not have SSA, but students in 1st grade can move into 2nd grade for language arts or math for teaching and learning, and as well as 2nd graders to 3rd grade, 3rd grade to 4th grade, 4th grade to 5th grade, and then 5th grade historically has done the online math program, which they would continue to be able to do. We will assess students during after this 10-day window that parents can request during the opening of school. We will assess students after that, and then any new SSA students will then be placed forward into the classrooms that they placed into either for language arts or for math. Okay, a family was asking about attendance and how that works. So currently the state guidance around attendance is that students can be counted as being in school for multiple ways. Those ways include a teacher has seen the student participate in a Google Meet. A student is seen working on a document that day related to that day's instruction. A teacher has, had a phone conversation with the family or student, and they're communicating about that day's learning. And then lastly, a student submitting a piece of work that was from that day of learning as evidence that they did that work that day, then that can count as being present. So those are all ways of being counted as present. And teachers will look at the different times that students engage during the day, but you don't have to be, for example, online for the total amount of time, and we're constantly recording what that is. It means that we have evidence that you participated in some way. Any other questions that are popping up, Ms. Ratley? Parents asking about a bus schedule. So no students will be riding the bus to or from school until Plan B students come back. Now, the county has been talking about once students return, if they're scheduled Plan B students, that they will be in different groups, an A, B, or C cohort for Plan B. The county is in the process of assigning those students to the cohorts, but we need to make sure that those student cohorts are aligned with the student groupings of students in middle and high school. So we have not passed out the information about the cohort groups because at this point, the students are not coming into school. It's not until students return, which is going to be at some point to the middle or end of their first quarter or beyond, that students would then start coming in if they are Plan B students for 1 week while doing 2 weeks of remote learning. So those cohort groups are really inconsequential at this point, and we want to make sure that we get those set up correctly so students who were at different levels, elementary, middle, and high school, in families are in that same cohort, or potentially families that need to be carpooling and doing other things together, we'll get that set up. So we'll continue to communicate with you about that, but don't be looking for your cohort group designation if you're a Plan B student in the near future, and it's not necessary for anything that you need to do until we start coming back and begin this Plan B rotation of a week in and 2 weeks out. Remember, when kids in Plan B are doing virtual learning, they're doing the same type of learning that our virtual academy students are doing. And we're doing all that same type of learning right now as we start the school year all virtually. So we're all learning virtually, and then at some point, some students will transition back into the building, and they'll continue learning while they're in the building the same content the online learners are working on as well. Any other new questions?
How many students will be in each virtual?
So class numbers will differ. You're going to have an assigned homeroom teacher. If you think about how we assign students, for example, in a 5th grade classroom, often we have teaching teams. They have a set homeroom, but then they're being taught by multiple teachers. Virtual academy numbers are going to be similar to what the class size ratios are for any given grade level as outlined by the state. But where students are learning at any given point in a virtual learning world could vary by being in a small group with very few students or a larger classroom. But by and large, virtual academy sizes mirror Plan B, although we're having to configure grade levels in different ways to support this mixture of Plan B students in virtual academy, and also the need to have everybody receiving the same type of instruction by our teachers for this first part of the school year. All right, any other new questions popping up, Ms. Ratley?
If they're traveling out of town until school starts, they will be able to access their kids' information online.
So if you were out of town until August the 17th, you will be able to access your child's information online. Again, you'll be accessing through Google Classroom, and teachers will be sending out that information to you through a personal email sometime between Friday afternoon, the 14th of August, and by noon, the 16th of August. All right, any last few questions? And I appreciate our dedicated core of 30 people who got me through our battery failure and allowed us to continue our live streaming production here. So thank you, the 31 dedicated people. Mrs. Ratley, any final questions? Great. So again, to wrap up, this Friday afternoon, you will receive a school messenger email. It will be a welcome from your grade level team. It will have a lot of important information, and that will be followed by a email directly to your family sometime between Friday afternoon and Sunday. As always, you can contact me directly if you need support. I can't wait to continue partnering with you to make for an awesome learning year.